So I'm actually going to mainly show what I did in a video because I find it easier, and but just tell you briefly about what my year in ARCE was like. Actually, I first went to ARCE in 2003 to find for a film I was researching with young Kavals, and I met, and I didn't realize at the time that I would keep going back because actually once you start going there you can't not go back. So it's been a very, very sort of deep relationship with ARCE. Is something that's also sort of given me many ways to work, so it's almost like my being in Delhi is very linked to being associated in some form, in some work or something in ARCE. And I used to keep going to Shubhaji and be like, can I do something? And she's like, yeah, but there's no money. So I was like, okay, I can't, okay. So anyways, I've always been looking for opportunities to actually be there in some way, and sort of this fellowship was absolutely perfect. Having said that, it sort of presented this absolutely sort of huge set of questions about what it means for creative practice to exist within some very strict sort of provenance of the archive. And I never actually thought about it like that because it was always quite informal before that. So actually it was more than, and so of course there was this amazing collections that I was looking at, and but it was like being up against, what do I do with this? Or like, listening is quite a passive seeming act. I mean, unless you could see what was going on in my head and how I was being transformed from the inside, there was seemingly very little to show for that, other than the fact that, I would just go and like lock myself into the listening room. And so if you see ARCE, which you will in the video, it's one of the more peaceful places that you can be in, and between the library and the listening room, you can actually escape everything, really. So anyway, so I was going to like read out like some long thing, but I won't. I'll just tell you briefly about the collections I was looking at. I was looking at something, from what is known as the diaspora collections at ARCE, and there were sort of 3 places that those included. There were the collections from Trinidad and from Mauritius, and the cities. And the reasons I put the cities, well, it was in my head a lot, about migration, about movement actually, not migration necessarily, but movement, how music moves, how people move. And the cities because I just wanted it. The Mauritius and the Trinidad collections were obviously much more linked. And this was, of course, music that had gone from East India to, the sugar colonies, that the histories of that, and the people who were taking it there. So, and then of course it re-entered the archive through people who were working on these collections, who made these collections happen. One was Helen Myers, whose work was on what she calls the Hindu music of Trinidad, which was congregational music, and hours and hours and endless hours of congregational Hindu music, which is a bit difficult to listen to also sometimes. And I started with that, so I was just like, okay. The second one which was a little more, for me, much more sort of potent, much more coherent in some sense, was Lakshmi Ganesh Tiwari's collection on, so he did more like sort of history, he would sort of interview people and have them sing, and he used to sort of like do this whole, so there was kind of, a chronology, something that made sense, an interview that went on. And I remember I came to his collection much later, but there was this, and it was in one of his recordings that suddenly something clicked in this sort of overwhelming experience of this material also, which is actually in real time. I think that's the other thing that you encounter in a sound archive and in sounds in general, is that you're in a world that plays itself out in real time, and it's a very different kind of experience from actually looking at text or photographs. So that's the other thing, and the moment that this happened to me, where the archive sort of revealed something to me, was in the interview of this man who was 94 years old, called Siv Balak. And Siv Balak spoke, and he was, everything he said, basically he remembered every song that he sang from beginning to end, but after every song he said, I'm forgetting everything. And the more you forget, the more things change, and there was something about listening to the entirety of that recording where something about the archive became legible to me suddenly. So and of course there were many experiences thereafter that I started kind of plugging into. But also there is this thing about, this creativity is kind of the opposite or it has the opposite impulse of research. So I was constantly having to I'm not a scholar, I wish I was, I'm not a scholar, but I can try. Anyways, and then it was just like, okay, so anyways, it was quite complicated in knowing. So anyway, so what I did at the end was, I did two things at the end. One was to actually, one was a listening session that I did at Coach, which was to present just some of the selections I had made of these collections according to a particular kind of logic, but where I actually played the songs for people. The other, and there was an audience for that. The second one was in the art, which I consider to be the main one, was sort of an intervention in the archive, and I would call it an intervention, even though I resist that word sometimes because who knows if it's an intervention actually, right? I mean, where it was about actually, because I found that the movement in an archive is usually outside in, when archival material enters the archive and suddenly its value changes and it gets really boundaried in this way and it doesn't actually leave. And it does not leave the archive, unless it's of course curated from the institution or that. And even when I had to take the stuff to play in Coach, I had to take it in the kiosks that were the platforms of the archive. So there's no question of remixing. There's no question of any of that. This is an archive that is depositor based, and it works within very, very strict sort of rules, permissions, and licenses, of course. But so what do you do as a creative practitioner? Like, what do you do? I mean, I work with sound, I make films. So there was a moment. So this was so. I just thought I'd reverse the direction of this outside-in movement and sort of create like an implosion of material inside the archive of the material that I had been working with. And so basically through sound projections and text not as information text because I have trouble with that, but as text that I encountered, which was associative, which was sort of this mini little my own archive that I was creating on the side. My notes, my photographs of the documentation, things from there, things about Steve, but things that I just picked it up because I felt within the space of the archive free to do that. And so I basically created some kind of what I called Steve Balak's echo chamber. So it was an echo chamber of the echoes, I suppose, whatever. So I just show you the exhibition video which I had done. I had taken the liberty to use a couple of tracks from the archive, but I have, but for the purposes of this presentation. So I can talk about it after maybe. How do I go full frame? Double click?
हमारा नाम है शिव बालक।
शिव बालक।
शिव बालक।
हाँ, शिव बालक। और आपको कितना उम्र है इस समय?
हैं?
आपको कितना उम्र है?
उम्र है 94।
94। तो आपके माता पिताजी कहाँ से?
हमारे पिता आए हैं काशी बनारस से।
अच्छा।
हाँ, चल गए पिया की देश।
हाँ,
तनी मनी होत रह तो फिर छूट गए। जौन सब रहे संघाती सब बीमार पड़े, सब चल गए इस संसार से। हम रह गए अकेला। मोरी माता के सिर पर ताज रहे, जिंदा मेरा आजाद रहे। नेहरू आंखें को सितारा आजाद रहे। हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई आपस में क्यों झगड़ते हम लोग भाई भाई। हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई आपस में क्यों झगड़ते हम लोग भाई भाई। हम लोग भाई भाई। मोरी माता के सिर पर ताज रहे, मोरी माता के सिर पर ताज रहे। छूट गए। आ कोनो चीज जब अच्छो रहे, जब वो छूट जाए तनी अब धैले धैले खराब होत बा। 94 हे सिया राम। तो
why it was jittering on the projector. It's fine.